very much for showing up on Saturday to come, but I think we're going to talk about an absolutely exciting subject, which is your career. So what I'm going to do is tell you a little story. About 3 years ago, I was at a conference really similar to this, huge group of people that are a little bit more mixed. It wasn't only focused on finance, but tech and other people. And it was about career navigation, right? So in that conference, there's lots of CEOs like you're going to have today, senior leaders, and so we got to go to a fireside chat, literally a fireside chat. This conference was in Singapore. Why we had a fireside chat leader. And so I was sitting in the room, and it was the CEO of a fashion group, and telling her story, how she navigated her career, and I thought, we get to be a CEO of an iconic fashion brand, right? And of course, you know when you start thinking questions like that, somebody's going to ask it. And somebody did. And so I said, so somebody said, how did you get to be where you are today? And her answer was, it just happened. So how can really careers just happen? How do you get to be the head of private equity? Or how do you get to be the head of a hedge fund? Or how do you get to be the head of risk management? So my first question, I'm going to ask lots of questions. I'm going to ask you lots of questions. Are careers serendipitous or are they planned? What do you think?
Serendipitous.
Serendipitous, absolutely. And I was going to go on stage that day to say, you need to be mindful, you need to be planned, you need to figure out what you want to do. And I think in some ways you do need to figure out what it is you want to do. So I'm going to talk about how do you do that and what are some things you need. I'm going to link it to some what Kishore said and actually link it to the next speaker, what Fareed's going to talk about is reputations. So let me tell you a little bit about me. When I kind of asked that question about is it serendipitous or is it planned, I have this American voice. I went to school in the United States, but I had never worked in the United States. I went to a small graduate school in Northern California, and I was studying for an MBA, and I really wanted to move to Spain. That was all I ever wanted to do. I studied Spanish. I didn't study finance, but I studied management. And so I was told that, look, there's no jobs in Spain. One of those times where the economy wasn't working, you weren't going to get a job in Spain. So there's a little tiny, almost like this size, at the career office, like about that big, it said, looking for volunteers to go to China. And I thought, I'll do that. I'll go to China. So when I went to pitch for that idea, the career officer said, first of all, you don't speak Chinese. Yeah, you're right, I don't. You're not studying policy. No, I'm not. I'm studying business. But I managed to get the role in China, and I never looked back. And I lived in a town called Changsha, Horan province, which is probably about the size of Bangalore. It had 12 million people. So considered a small city in China. I went to work in Hong Kong, and then I went to work in Singapore. And that little serendipitous event, that pivotal moment changed the course of my career. So we talk about careers. It was a little bit said by Kishore. Careers are really different now, and they're really different in India. I was fortunate to be able to speak at the CFA conference in Mumbai, and I had somebody come to me saying, look, I'm being offered a job in New York or Hong Kong, what would you do? First of all, it's kind of a big question to ask. I didn't know how to answer it. But of course, yes, you would go to Hong Kong, go to New York, and he said, I don't want to go. Everything is happening in India, and I don't want to miss this market. And I think this is really fascinating because a lot of the organizations that I work with a lot of financial institutions, they're all trying to get you to move, trying to get you to come to Singapore, where this is actually where a lot of growth is happening, which you all know. So if you look at careers before, what I love what you said, Kishore, about 8 years in fund management, and you go off and jump into your own fund. But a lot of times what's happening with careers, it's not that upward trajectory. It is more, it's not like your parents' careers where you started and you worked 5 or 10 years and then you got that big job or that managing director's job. It's actually more like this. And what's also fascinating for me about the CFA is the same question that Kishore asked you: who wants to be in fund management, who wants to be in front office? I hear this all the time. But actually it could be, maybe I'll do infrastructure, maybe I'll go to the front office, maybe I'll go into risk, maybe I'll move around. And that's actually what career is all about now: more lateral moves, more moving vertical, moving sideways rather than going up all the time. So I want you to think about this. When you think about your careers, I was thinking about this talk. I looked at what's happening in India. What's really important for India and where our careers going, particularly in your industry. So this is what I found from McKinsey. Skills required for traditional jobs are changing fast. You know what, it's not only finance, it's actually in tech. I think your world is being connected in tech. So finance and tech are kind of merging. And the next piece of advice that McKinsey gave was the next 10 years are greater emphasis on specific qualifications. I agree and I disagree with that. I think if you focus too much on technical skills, you're going to miss out on the other skills that you definitely need. So let's look at the future. If you think about the future, I'm going to give you 10 jobs, 6 roles that are not here now, that are a bit crazy, and to get you to think about and ask you, how do you plan for these types of careers? So the first one is data ethicist. If we look at what happened to Facebook yesterday, I think it was yesterday in the news, 50 million hacked, right? 50 million data was taken away from or hacked into a Facebook. Data ethicist is not a role that we have right now, but it's certainly something we need to look at. Ethics is hugely important. What are we doing with this data? When this data is hacked, how are we holding it hostage? Another one is cryptocurrency bankers. I loved it when Kishore talked about funds. When I was looking at the next 10 to 20 years of jobs, cryptocurrency is huge. Cryptocurrency wealth management, cryptocurrency regulators. You know, who is thinking about that now? Maybe some of you are. The next one is blockchain architects. If you have cryptocurrency, you're going to have a platform to be able to trade that type of currency, right? So these are roles that are suggested in the next 10 to 20 years. I would argue that probably some of these are going to happen in the next 10 years, and particularly this one. Algorithmic health providers. 2 years ago, I was at a talk with one of the big strategy firms. They were talking about the future of work, right? And they told a story about India, saying that a hospital in India gave 16-year-olds an iPad to help diagnose a disease. And through this algorithm, and through the questions, they were better at making a diagnostic than some of the doctors with 20 or 30 years experience. So I would say that some of these are here now. The next one is transitionists. The careers you're going into now are not going to be the same ones in 5 years or in 10 years. They're going to keep changing. You're going to have a multitude of careers. And that's why I love to think more broadly about finance. Don't just think front office. Front office is certainly where you can make a lot of money, right? But also, so is data. So are data analysts. So are data scientists. So is technology. There's a lot of movement from finance into tech, and a lot of tech firms that want people like you. So transitionist, your careers will change. And the last one is simplicity expert. Who does, you know, with the complexities in the world today, geopolitics, technology, just our lives in general, all the different apps that we have, somebody needs to help simplify it. One of the biggest issues facing the workforce right now is wellness. How do we keep people whole? So I'm going to have you think about 3 things for your career. And this I learned from sitting at the same conference from a Goldman Sachs equity trader. And I thought it was beautiful the way he described careers. And I thought about it for a long time. I think it might resonate with you. So he talked about it in 3 buckets. Time. He said this is the capital that you need to invest in. Time capital. Where are you spending your time? Don't only focus on the technical skills, which I know all of you are really skilled at. You need to actually manage the time and look at relationships, which is actually, this is why it's great that LinkedIn's the next speaker. Relationships are critical. But the next piece on relationship is this. Reputation. So when you go on LinkedIn, when you start to build these relationships, what is your reputation? How do you figure out your reputation? How do you figure out who you want to be or what you want to be known for? I'm going to try to give you a little ways to think about that. Let me start off with So instead of focusing on your technical skills, what I want you to focus on is your strengths. Your strengths are going to take you a lot further. Some of you are great at analytical skills. Some of you are great at people skills. Some of you are great at creative thinking. All of those areas, that's what you need to build on. And I'm on a mission to get your organizations to rethink performance management and think about your strengths rather than what your development needs are. Your strengths are going to pull out your development needs. Your strengths are your intrinsic motivators. Your strengths are when I have that really awful difficult day and maybe I don't want to go to work on Monday, this is what's going to pull you through. And what's the beauty of your strengths is it's uniquely you. So just for 1 minute, I'm going to ask you to think about what can you do for hours and hours without realizing the time passing. Just 1 minute and talk to the person next to you and I'm going to call time at the end of that minute. What can you do for hours and hours without realizing the time passing? Okay, what did you hear? Just shout out. What did somebody say to you? Reading, sleeping. One more. What was that? Oh, again, playing a game. Okay. So that might seem like a crazy question to you, but if you keep asking yourself that, that actually starts to uncover your strength. Reading could be research, right? I'm gonna wait till I pull out a sleeping one. Playing a game could be competitiveness, could be strategy, could be collaboration. All of these things underneath are going to help you figure out your strengths. I'm not talking about the technical strengths, I'm talking about actually what your drivers are. The sleeping one is really interesting because I will get this every so often when I ask this question. And honestly, I never know what to do with that for a career, other than maybe you're just a little bit stressed. But lastly, sometimes it's cooking, and cooking can make you figure out what's a great aspect. I'm going to figure out what sleeping is. So maybe I'll ask you at the break, what does it mean when you can sleep for hours and hours? So I want to move to relationship capital, because this first was time capital, and I'm going to suggest you look at strengths. Next is relationship capital. How many relationships do you think that we think we need? What social media does, which is fabulous, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, I'm missing something, is we have a lot of followers, we have a lot of connections, maybe thousands of connections, maybe 3,000 connections, which is great. And sometimes these secondary connections are really important for career navigation. But those aren't relationships that can really help you. They can help you, but they're also hard for you to think about, how do I manage those relationships? How do I manage 3,000 people? Hard, right? So what I want you to think about are what are the relationships that you really need in your career? Who do you go to when you want career advice? And I'm going to tell you a little bit of research that I did specifically in Asia Pacific, looking at leadership, looking at networks, and looking at what people need for their careers. So who's in your network is critically important. Think about the 5 people that you interact with on a daily basis. Who is that? A lot of times when I hear people and they say about networking, particularly at events, like going to an event like this or going to an networking event, I'm really busy, I need to do my job. I need to do my family, I need to do my sports. We all have multi-facets in our lives. How do we make time to network? That's why it's really important to think about your network intentionally and strategically. So I'm going to give you 3 categories that I think you should have in your network. The first is a mentor. And this mentor doesn't have to be somebody senior. It can be somebody who's got knowledge that you don't have. For me, I have a tech person that is my mentor. Technology is hugely important to the work that I do, and so I need to understand what's happening, what interventions are working for organizations, what interventions aren't, who's out there in the market. So that's why I go to tech. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what I found with also mentors. So the next one is energy. Who do you call when you're having one of those awful, no good, terrible days where you think, do I really want to do this again? That's the person that you typically call to kind of uplift people. Who do you call when you get a huge promotion or you decide to jump off and do your own business? Who are you calling for that energy? And this actually helps provide well-being and balance. The third one is one that's been written about a lot, and you're probably going to recognize it. It's a connector. And this is I often hear people come to me and say, look, I'm more prone towards introversion, or I don't like to network. All you need is one connector. And actually you can find a great connector on LinkedIn because you can see all the multiple connections, right? So one person can introduce you to many. What I mean about a connector is this. That's that person in your office who knows everything that's going on before you do. That's that person in your office that knows where all the parties are. That's the person that knows, like, let's we're all going together to watch cricket at the stadium. They know this, they're at everything. It's your go-to person. Every single organization has them. And a lot of times they talk about networks and they're like, oh, I know, it's the managing director's executive assistant. Could be. That could be your connector that you want to get connected to. Mentor. In my research in Asia Pacific, what was fascinating for me when people talked about mentors is this was typically a family member. It could have been a father, a mother, a grandparent, or sometimes even a mother-in-law that helped with career navigation. So sometimes mentors are not inside firms. You do need somebody inside the firm, and I would say that's your connector. So in 2 weeks, I'm going to give you a call to action. I want you to find a mentor. Find anybody, and it doesn't have to be a formal mentoring program in your organization, something informal. The next is follow up with someone from this conference. This is the most amazing opportunity for networks to build a business, to decide you're going to build your own fund, to decide where your next career is going to go. Professional networks are the absolute best, and actually being on a committee or joining a board in this type of network is hugely important for your careers. Let me go to my next one on reputation capital, so I don't want to run out of time here. Reputation capital. There are 3 stories every leader needs to know to tell. And this is really important. It's not what you tell them, it's that you need to learn how to tell them. Who am I? Why am I here, and what's my impact? So I went to a networking event a couple weeks ago, and I'm going to share a story with you about somebody I met. You know, when you're supposed to go to those networking events, you get all these tips on how to network, right? Like, hi, how are you? My name is Jane, and here's what I do. But I don't think that's the story that we all want to tell. I think it's the story we want to tell. Who am I? What's my impact? Why am I here? So I'm at this networking event, and I was given this person there called Alfred. So I met Alfred, and I said, hi, I'm Alfred. I graduated from Harvard. I speak 3 languages, Russian, Chinese, and English. I work for the Reagan Foundation, Reagan administration, and I'm now the head of policy. I actually didn't know what to do with that information, right? Where was I going to go with that information? I'm not a Harvard grad, so that made me feel like this. I don't speak 3 languages, so it was one, intimidating, and two, just a little bit, and I didn't understand why are you here and what's your impact. So I want you to think about that when you build your reputation online with LinkedIn, when you're at these events, when you're introducing yourself to people. So you want to be distinct. What's unique about you? That's why I start with strengths. Your strengths are your unique qualities, and they're only yours. You want to be relevant, right? You want to be up to date on what's going on. You want to have people remember you for relevancy. And the last one, you want to be consistent. So this is a little bit like branding. You want to think about what's that impression I'm leaving when I leave the room. What do I want to go and make people happy think about me? And this takes time. You're not going to do this today. This takes a bit of time for you to think about. But I want to give you a way to think about it. I want you to think of who you impact. Is it an individual? Is it an organization, or is it society? Who do you want to impact? Then why do you do what you do? Do you do what you do to drive results? Do you want to have a higher return on investment? Yeah, that would lean towards finance and fund management and front office. Or are you interested in ensuring that the team around you gets ahead? And you want to make certain you level the playing field for people. That might lean towards leadership, right? So why do you do what you do? And then how do you do what you do? Do you do it through research or reading? Do you do it through getting people together in collaboration? Do you do it through intuition? All of these are the things that you need to think about to shape your story when you go to make the introductions or when you write it on your profile. So your future skills. I started out saying to you that it's really hard to figure out those future skills. This world is changing so dramatically. If you think about the new tech companies that are starting, even in India, the increase in pay, like the online payment scams, online payment and money rather than paper money. So things keep changing in technology. So how do you possibly think about all the skills you need? You do need to keep updated on them, but your technical skills are one side. It's the leadership skills, it's your communication skills, it's your listening skills. All of those leadership skills are the ones that you need to really think about. So before coming here, I asked somebody, what should I tell this group of people? I asked a couple search people. I'm going to share with you both future skills and also with the search. People who interview you for jobs say what you need. So the first one is empathy. This is because our world is incredibly diverse and we want to build an inclusive environment, and you want to understand people from the other side. You want to put yourself in their shoes. The next one is you need to be able to connect people and technology. It's not only about being a tech wizard, but it's actually about helping people understand those two connections. The third one is understanding, making sense of data. You can be really good at data. You can be a data analyst, you can be a data scientist, you can be good with numbers, but if it doesn't make sense to people like me, or to people you're selling to, like your clients, it's all for naught. The people that can make the best connections with finance and tech and data are the ones that are going to win this, going to succeed in the future, because they can make sense of this role. And every organization that I work with talks about this. The third one is what I got from the search firms. Listening and relearning. I talked to 3 or 4 search consultants and they said, look, what we look for is we know on paper you're really good at what you do. You've gone to some great schools, you're technically strong. How do you have that conversation? How do you tell me a story about you? How do you engage in a conversation and ask questions? This is really the most important skills. It gets down to kind of the basic leadership skills that we all talk about. So I'm going to end my session with that because I know it's time for questions. I think there's questions, but I want to thank you for your participation. And hopefully I can ask some questions, and I'll be around for the whole day so you can ask more questions.
Career management, and they realize the importance of soft skills needed for one's to advance outside career. So I have some questions here. So this is interesting. So it's important to be at the right place at the right time. How can one make sure that such opportunities come up for more of us?
I actually, that one I don't know. I think for that is just to take the opportunities that you get if you're offered to come to an event like this or you're offered to be on a panel, then just take those opportunities. That would probably lean more towards being right place, right time.
Now we talked about networking.
Yes.
The power of networking. But it's difficult for introverts. So how can introverts build their skill to be able to network better?
Yeah. Introversion, if we look at it from the kind of the MBTI description of it, it's more, I have a preference for reading and getting energy from that way. It's not that we're introverts and extroverts can't network. But one of the things that I would recommend is when you go to an event like this, a couple hundred people in the room, just go in there with the intention of what's the questions I want to ask, who do I want to meet, or maybe meet 3 people, and that's it. Don't try to get business cards from everybody. That would be one of the second thing was I find a really good connective and introduce people. And again, I would limit the amount of people.
Okay. So this. So while we pursue
yes,
the skill that building a skill set also is risky because tomorrow it will not be required. So how does one get the result? Skills.
Investing efforts in risky
Building skill set.
building skill sets.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you my bias. I think you're all incredibly skillful and technical on the finance side of it. What I would say is dial it back and figure out what you really want to do, where you get your energy, and if you're more leaning towards leadership, the skill set you really need to focus on is the last 5 skills that I gave you. Empathy, listening, asking questions, making sense of data. And even if you really want to be technically strong, you still need that skill set of building relationships and understanding your reputation. So that's what I would say focus on.
Once again.
Thank you.